You're welcome along to the Maroon and White pod. So, on today's show, I'm going to be joined by former Galway goalkeeper Maghnus Breathnach, and we're going to look back on Galway's narrow defeat to Mayo 318 to 218 in the opening round of the National League. Then, in part two of the show, I'll be joined by former Armagh footballer John McEntee, and we're going to look ahead to Galway Armagh on Saturday at 5 o'clock in round two of the National Football League. The game takes place there in the Athletic Grounds in County Armagh, and for supporters who can't make it, RT will have live coverage of the game there. Before we do that, just to get to college action, and in terms of Sigerson Cup, the University of Galway have booked their place into Sigerson Cup quarter final, and they're going to be taking on UCD. John Dibley still at the helm there with UCD. Dar Varley from Clonbur, he's featured quite heavily for UCD across the Sigerson Cup. He's lined out at centre half back for UCD there in most of the games. In terms then of the University of Galway, they had a win there last week over MTU Kerry, and that's seen them into the last eight. There's quite a lot of Galway players on this University of Galway team. So you have Killian Walsh from Clare Galway, Conor Corcoran, Mike Cullen, Jack Folan, St James's, Mike Mahan, Mike Cullen, Brian Cogger, Kerfin, Jared Davern, Mike Cullen, Sean Hansbury, Menlaw, Shane McGrath, Dunmore McHale's, Killian O'Curran, Micheál Brannach's, Owen Finnerty, St James's, Brian Noon, Montbellew Mylaw, Lima O'Cneela, on Spidale, Jack Lonergan, Clare Galway, Colin McDonagh, Letchermore, Jack Nolan, St James's, Luke O'Connor, Clare Galway, Owen Morgan, Clare Galway, Éanna Monaghan, Clare Galway, Ronan Colleran, Tombstairs. So a good amount of Galway representation there. Um, James Mannion from Monavea Abbey is the coach, along with Paddy Moore is the selector. Adrian Verley is involved in the backroom team, along with Brian Kane, who featured with St James's this year. Mar Sheridan, of course, is still the manager of the University of Galway. ATU Galway desperately unlucky not to be in the last eight after pushing DCU so close. There last week in the Sigerson Cup, losing out on a final scoreline of 116 to 114. But to be honest, I think there's a lot for ATU Galway to build on heading into the Sigerson Cup next year. And Jack Hines and his management team, they're doing great work, and they've a really strong freshers team this year. So they'll be hoping to push on, and particularly next year, as I mentioned there, into the Sigerson Cup. In terms then of post-primary schools football, so we have two Galway schools that are in the Connacht post-primaries A football championship semi-finals. So Coláiste Bhaile also known as Clare Galway College, they take on St Murdoch's in the semi-final at 12 o'clock in the Connacht GA Centre of Excellence, while later on Thursday evening at 7 o'clock, St Gerald's College Tuam, they play St Gerald's from Castlebar at 7 o'clock in the Connacht GA Centre of Excellence. Uh, the Bish then they take on Ballyhonus Community School on Friday at 11:30 in Knockdomore in Clare Galway. Um, they're in the B semi-final, and in the other B semi-final then you have St Attractors from Sligo taking on St Nathan's in the other semi-final there. In terms then of the senior C semi-finals, so St Enda, they're playing Gertner Abbey Crossmolina at 12 o'clock in Kilmaine GA Club in County Mayo. Obviously, Kobe MacDonald, the Mayo senior footballer, part of the Gertner Abbey Crossmolina school outfit there. And then in the other semi-final, Holy Rosary College Montbellew, they play Ball Secondary School at half 12 in the Connacht GA Centre of Excellence, and the final in the Senior C is down for Saturday, the 14th of February. So I'm now going to bring in Maghnus Breathnach, and we're going to look back on, as I mentioned, Galway Mayo, and also look ahead to Galway Armagh with former Armagh footballer John McEntee. So it was defeat for Galway at the weekend to Mayo, 318 to 218, and it's safe to say it was an intriguing game yesterday between Galway and Mayo. Really entertaining, but Mayo just getting past Galway by 3 points. Galway now switched their attention to the clash against Armagh this Saturday at 5 p.m. in the Athletic Grounds. I'm joined by former Galway footballer Maghnus Breathnach to look back on Galway Mayo. As I mentioned there, Maghnus, a really entertaining game for January. You can obviously tell that by the scoreline. Unfortunately, Galway just coming up short, but a really entertaining game for both sets of supporters yesterday.
Yeah, definitely, Paul. Like, if you look at the scoreline 218 to 318 on the 25th of January, is some scoring like it's 24 points to 27. You said that in a football game 3 or 4 years ago, you'll be talking about it'd have to be in the middle of summer and the game would have to been chaos. Like, but really, really exciting game. And you can probably tell there was a great buzz around the place as well. Like, the full stand was absolutely waged. There was a great crowd in the game at the game too. Like, and for once in Pearse Stadium, there wasn't a whole lot of a breeze in there, which was a bit of a miracle in itself at the same time. But like really, really entertaining game, and probably a lot of learnings for the Galway team out of it. Going up against a pretty strong Mayo side, I have to say, the way Andy Moore lined them out.
Just looking back on the overall, I suppose, result for Galway, how would you see this result? Obviously, Mayo came that I think Andy Moore was saying after the game they've lost to Galway the last 4 times they've met. So Mayo were obviously keen to come and get a result. But do you think this will be a setback for Galway? How do you see it in the overall context of the National League?
There's probably a bit of everything in it, Paul. Like, I think you obviously want to win your home games, especially when we only have three this year. You're playing the neighbours up the road, where there has always been a good rivalry between Galway and Mayo, obviously down through the years, and there's always that kind of good bit of needle on the pitch too, good crack between the supporters and everything like that as well. But I think for like Galway, I suppose a lot of new faces were playing yesterday. A lot of really good performances by a lot of young lads that came in there and who made their debuts. I think Mayo were probably a far more settled team. I have to say, like I think probably Andy probably let it out there. Like they were fixated on beating Galway, whilst I think Galway were more interested in giving lads intercounty experience, not taking the eye off the prize of like trying to win the game as well. Like that, no doubt about it. Like Porrick wanted to win that game as badly as any game. I have no doubt about. But like I think for Andy Moore, he needed that win against Mayo far more than Porrick needed to beat Mayo yesterday. But again, we're probably on 0 points. Mayo have that win, and we're staring into two away games now, which are going to be extremely tough. But look, I think you're blooding lads in there so that we can get ready for championship. Like if Andy Moran's main aspect is just trying to beat Galway, fair dues, but I think Galway are trying to be looking at winning, getting ready for a kind of final and going on a really good run in the All Ireland Championship this year.
If you look at the start of the game, Mayo race into a 6 points to two lead. Rob Finnerty gets a point, Phil McDonough gets a point, then Oisin McDonough gets a point and a 2 pointer, and Galway go 7-5 ahead. Then Mayo were able to respond with the goal through Aidan O'Shea, 1-6 to 7, and then they do finish the half strongly. They go in at the break then with a terrific 2 pointer from Jack Kearney on the buzzer beater to send them 112 to 9 ahead at the break.
Yeah, and like the way you've just described it, Paul, like it's the ball is going up and down the field so fast now. Like in terms of controlling games now, it's far more difficult than it was obviously pre the new rules. Like it's one on one everywhere. You can't play with your +1 unless there's a black card in the game. On the flip side of that, that gives you an additional attacker because you're playing with 10 men because you still have to play the three up. But like I think like Galway played in really when they played well, they played in great patches. Like Mulhern's ball into Finnerty one of the best kick passes of the day. I have to say, like, and Rob, I'd say if you get the ball back to Rob, 9 times out of 10, that ball hits the back of the net because he's such a cool finisher. Like Oisin McDonagh, grew into the game, but then kicked a point, then kicked a 2-pointer. Oisin has been electric for Wrexham for the last few years, and absolutely delighted for him, that he's getting rewarded for his fine club form. Phil McDonagh, like another lad who had a really good club campaign. As the further the game went on against Mayo, he just kept growing and growing in stature. And that lad, 6'7". O'Shea tries to go and win the ball off him for the throw in for the second half, and Fionn just goes and wins that ball handy and puts Galway in the attack. And to have that confidence, one of his points was so good because you could see that he was telegraphing that he was going to come in on the left. Like everybody could see it, but he still went and done it. And two Mayo lads tried to get the block, and he still puts the ball over the bar. And to have that confidence, like for your first intercounty league game, is fantastic to see. Like, and he played with a good freshness there, along with Oisin as well before he got taken off. So great options, and again, brilliant for the management that they have lads like this being able to come in and perform at county level too.
Yeah, particularly there when you're talking, obviously the new faces, it's safe to say there's so many positives, I think, yesterday about them all, but particularly Fionn McDonagh, 1-4, Kieran Mulhern 3 points, Ushi McDonagh 3 points as well. So many positives for those three players to come in on their league debuts. The occasion not to phase them. It's a Galway Mayo game. It's obviously a big game to come in, but like they all really took their opportunities, and it's great to see that. I suppose about three new lads coming in that it didn't seem to phase them at all yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and Kieran Mulhern had a really good game. Few mistakes, got blocked down, turnover the odd time, but like he was playing on the front foot, which was brilliant to see. Like I was really impressed with how he performed and how well he lasted in the game as well. Like, to play 70 minutes like that isn't easy for, like, when you're not used to it either. Like, and he conducted himself really, really well. I have to say, like every time he got the ball, it was heads up. He was looking inside, looking can he deliver that ball in there. Same thing, like, Phil McDonagh, really aggressive, trying to be win the ball, trying to be playing first time balls in. Oisin McDonagh's trying to win the ball in the hard positions. Like the easy place where full forward line lads can win the ball is out around the 45 and whatnot. But Oisin was winning the ball in there on the top of the D with my old fella hanging off the back of him, but winning the ball clean, looking to lay it off. Like himself and Fionn created a great move in the first half where Oisin actually slows down to let Fionn off the shoulder, and for Oisin, he could have got maybe a bit excited to try and put the ball over the bar because he's so close, but he does the right decision, gives it to Fionn. Fionn face passes over the bar, and it's a great score for Galway. Like, so, like that's really refreshing for Galway and really good and exciting for Galway fans to see these new faces come in. Whilst Mayo are looking at, they're looking at Tommy Conroy, who's been there, Aidan O'Shea has been there, Ryan O'Donoghue has been there, Jack Carney, Jordan Flynn, like, there's no whole lot of new faces there, but Galway will learn an awful lot by playing against those lads as well yesterday too.
Particularly Kieran Mulhern yesterday. I suppose it's isn't great to just see from a Galway supporter perspective of when he gets the ball, he's going to kick it and he's not afraid. And it's it's an 11 you want to see really play it at intercounty level, and he was just a joy to watch yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Because it's great to see a lad when he gets the ball that he doesn't take the hop or solo or head down straight away. He's looking. He has there's pressure on him. He's trying to do the right thing, and I would say it's probably a message the way Galway want to play. Like they want to get the ball and they want to get their full forward line on the ball. Like your most dangerous players on the field are the three lads that are inside. Like, and if you get the ball one on one in there to Effion, Rob, and Oisin that were in there yesterday, like, you got to give them a chance to let them beat their men one on one. Like, there's no point saying, oh yeah, like, oh, they didn't score this, they didn't do that. Give them the chance to win the ball. Give them the chance to beat their man one on one and get scores, and or lay the ball off. Like, for Daniel Farty's shot, that Rob Henley saved. Like, fantastic hands by Rob, but it was Rob that won the ball in a hard spot, and then he lays the ball off to Daniel, and it's just unlucky that Galway don't score. It's a really good save, but like, that's what you want. Like, you want your full forward line being tough. You want your full forward line being able to win dirty ball. Like, so really, really good. I just think that Galway tried to play on the front foot yesterday, maybe he got exposed at times. Like Mayo did run into an 11 point lead as well. Like we can't forget that. Like, but it's the 25th of January. Like I would hope that people around Galway aren't doom and gloom about it, like or anything like that. It's very easy to turn and say, "Oh, that's not good enough," or whatever. Like, but it'll be interesting. Like, can this Galway team get building? Can they get lads back fit? Can they get lads back from injury? If they do that gradually, I think we'll be in a really good position with lads get minutes that invaluable minutes on the field too. Like between young, experienced lads there, it'll do them the world of good.
Particularly, just I suppose, given Damien Comer's been out a lot through injury over the last 2 years, I, I think it's a good option to have Phil McDonagh now, isn't it? I believe he's 6'7", and he is that plan B of a target man if Damien Comer isn't there.
Yeah, like I think John Joanne alluded to it last week. Like I think if Galway are going to win the All Ireland, and that's the target where they're probably setting out to start the year. That's the target that they want to do. Like for all they've done, this current group of players, that's what they want to do. Like, um, I think personally that we're going to need a fully fit Shane Walsh and a fully fit Damien Comer playing in quarterfinal, semi final, final time for Galway if that's going to happen. Like I think if Damien can stay injury free, and I know that he had the surgery pre Christmas there, he got probably in a down out of trouble as well out of the relegation for the club, like, putting his body on the line for the club as well. That's the kind of character he is. Like he's going to put himself through the ringer. But like in terms of getting him back in the field, I think it's so important. But again, it can't be rushed because if you do it and it implodes, well, like that's Damien's kind of year done, and nobody wants that. Like if he's 2 years there where he hasn't played really much intercounty minutes at all, but like we all seen it when he came on against Meath. you know, there's no lad that's going to stand up to Damien and give him a shoulder or anything like that. He's going to throw lads out of the way, like. But this goes back to your original question there, Paul. It's like for the likes of Phil McDonagh. Phil McDonagh is 6'6", 6'7". Like I've met him a few times, like, and he dwarfs me, like, and I'm 6'2" there, and I'm looking up at him going, Jesus, I would not want to be competing for a high ball with you, like, if it was putting me on the edge of the square, like, and
You
Galway
could
put him
see,
out there.
you could see for his goal, like the chaos that he just caused for that Mayo full back line.
Oh yeah, like full back lines. How do I put it, Paul? Like, I suppose that Route One ball that was used to be going in the noughties there, like 06, 07, like Kerry probably the best team to do it, like when they had Donaghy and Tommy Walsh in there, diagonal balls and putting full back lines under serious pressure. Like them kind of balls haven't really been delivered in county football properly in the last 10 years. But I think when you deliver balls like that into the square now, like full back lines aren't used to it. They're not used to like, geez, this chaos in here, like, and you're relying on your goalie as well to maybe come and clear house and clear deck, and there's chaos everywhere. Like, but like if you have a lad that can get a hand in the ball and he can flick it down to a Galway lad there, like he's probably one of a kind in terms of around Galway in terms of the club championship of his size, but his football ability as well. Like he's not just your typical big lad. He can play ball, like, and like he danced around there with Mayo one stage and kicking balls over there with his left. They knew he was kicking off the left. They still couldn't stop it. So like he's only, I think Fionn is one of those lads that'll only get better and better because he's never been really involved in an inter-county environment up till now.
Yeah, it's I think it's a real positive there with those few new faces coming through. Obviously, there's bodies to come back into this as well. Matthew Tierney and Keane Darcy had to pull out yesterday before the game. Where Joyce was talking after, and he said they just picked up knocks uh, on Thursday. Before we get to how the game finished and maybe the turning point there, Porrick obviously confirms yesterday that Peter Cook will not be part of the Galway panel um, for 2026. How much of a blow is that?
It's a blow, but I don't think we can. I don't think we can really dwell on it. Like if he's not available, he's not available, and I think for Porrick, he doesn't need that headache of is Peter Cook available maybe in March or April or May. He's not around because he's working. He's working abroad, and for Peter himself, like how to even manage that, even managing the club level last year was probably very difficult for himself as well. Like though It is a
Yeah,
blow, but I think that it's something that's out of control for Galway in terms of Peter Cook's availability this year.
yeah. I was only thinking, obviously, he's a big loss, and if we had him, he'd be a big addition. But even when you think maybe he came back last year and he's sort of been in and out of the Galway fold, really since before that. So maybe if he was there for the last few years, maybe we might feel his loss a bit more, if you get me.
Yeah, and it's probably the fact that like you're not exposed to him all year round, and you're saying like, "Geez, I'd love to have him," But like the reality of it is, we don't have him all year round, and you know, you can't really be in intercounty football or not be training consistently, even playing at club level, Paul. Like if you're not playing or training consistently, like trying to go into a heat of a championship game there, like it's hard to get up to the pace of it too. Like so, whatever about club level, but intercounty level, you need to be training. You need to be getting minutes under your belt, like unless you're just this, you know, outrageous footballer that can pull that off. But I don't think there's anybody in the country that could do that.
If we look back to the game from yesterday. We go 215 to 10 down. We go 217 to 12 down. Uh, I think a big positive has to be the fight. Like we're down by 11 points. The game is going against us, and in fairness, the character Galway showed to get right back into that game was something very impressive yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. And again, alarm bells are going off like you're Mayo are clear by 11 points. And you're like, oh, Jesus, don't let this be a drubbing at home. Like I've been a part of one of those in the middle of a championship game against Mayo, and it's not a nice feeling. And there's a good crowd there, and there's a good Galway support there too. Like, and I'd say it's great credit to the lads that they were able to produce that fight back. Like, I have to say, great credit. There was a lot of lads driving things on in the second half when and that's what you want. Like that shows an awful lot of character as well. Like they don't want to go hiding there. They're willing to fight. They're willing to put in the hits. They're willing to get stuck into Mayo jerseys and faces and try and upset them and really go hard after the breaking ball and really press Mayo and go after them. And like for Galway lost, but like Galway created 5, 6 goal chances. They converted two of them. Like Henley pulled off three probably top class saves, I have to say. Like so that kind of drove on. Like, and I know that Mayo took off a few lads, and maybe that may have resulted in kind of Galway getting the pep back in their step, and Porrick introduced his subs and his energy and changed the physicality as well around the middle of the field, bringing in Moses Barrett. But like you have to take your hats off to lads, like especially for a young bunch of lads too that are out there, like. But like you still have your real leaders, your Dylan McHugh's out there, your Sean Kelly's out there, Rob Finnerty's out there, good experienced lads that they're not going to go lie down to Mayo and let them get a handy win in Galway.
Just on that, obviously, we go back into the game, lose by 3 points at the end. From an attacking perspective, this early in the year, like there's probably 6 or 7 goal chances there yesterday that we created, and Rob Henley made a save, one or two of them. Galway maybe their accuracy in front of goals just lets them down, but like that has to be a big positive, doesn't it, to be creating these chances this early in the year?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you're getting the chances, you know, you're beating defenses. You're just not converting. They like probably when the lads have their analysis session, they'll probably look a lot of those goal chances. And for as good as Rob's saves were, I would say probably better execution and a little bit more kind of calmness in front of goals. They'd slot them once in, like so. That's a big positive. They'll probably take that out of their own analysis there. Like Jesus, like for everything that Mayo threw at us, like we did carve them open a lot, and that was an experienced backline that Mayo have. You put that in the summer months as well. Galway broke some serious lines there, and what was great, I think, with a lot of our chances was like the ball was one inside, but there was a runner coming all the time. There was a runner coming all the time, and definitely a huge, huge positive. Like again, on the flip side, we concede 3 goals, and that's a disappointment too, as well. At the same time, like we all like we want to score goals and not concede goals, and if you do that, you're probably going to win the game. So that's the flip side to it.
Yeah, even a couple of questions that came in from listeners. Garage McCann said Shane McGlinchey probably should start versus Armagh, only natural midfielder fit at the minute. Be a good test. Um, Another listener there, Killian Brown, Kieran Mulhern's debut. We've already touched on that. Um, then from another listener, very poor defensively, got zero presence in midfield, but full forward line looked dangerous. In fairness, if you're looking at Galway at the minute, with Sean Kelly and Keane Hernan obviously midfield yesterday. We're obviously down at the minute. Um, John Maher, Keane Doherty, Matthew Tierney, Killian McDade, they're all players that are going to play across the middle for Galway. And then if you think from a defensive perspective, if we have all those fit, Sean Kelly and Keane Hernan can maybe go back to field and play in the backs. And even Sean McCurran didn't come on yesterday. Maybe he's a player who comes in against Armagh. So in fairness, we are down players in that department, so I wouldn't be getting too overly concerned about all of that at the minute.
Yeah, to be honest, I'd have probably no concern about it because that's been Galway's biggest strength. I think one of Porrick's biggest strengths that he's had with Galway is the physicality of those lads that he's had. Like, and you throw Paul Conroy into the mix there, please God, in the next few weeks we'll see Paul making an appearance back again in the Galway jersey. Like, it'd be fantastic. But like in terms of the quality of players, like Keane Darcy really has excelled for Galway since he got the transfer to Ballyboden and back under Porrick. Killian McDade, well, we've all seen what Killian McDade has been able to produce, and he, you could run out of words to say how good of a player he is. John Maher, obviously been given the captain role this year, and Porrick sees a huge amount of leadership in him. Is massive. Like Matty Tierney, another a lad there's been there a long time, vice captain for a few years. They're big leaders. Like, and like fair enough. Mayo might have won the middle battle there, but like I wouldn't really be concerned about it. Like I think just go back to probably the Shea McGlinchey thing, maybe probably starting against Armagh. I would be probably just a little bit mindful. Like, he was carrying injuries into the club championship last year, didn't play a whole lot of minutes. I think Shea's a really exceptional footballer. Um, but again, going into the heat of a county game like that, it'd be a big ask, but again, you have to ask the question too, like, but maybe Borwick might want to bring him along gradually, maybe build up his minutes at county level, because I suppose for a lot of Galway people out there, like, Shea, Kieran Mulhern, they're playing. They're Mikey Moraine. There's lads there like that are still under 20s for Galway this year. Like, so maybe it's managing the minutes for those and try to expose them to a good level too. But like again, they are still very very young, especially inter-county level. Like I think Matty Thompson came into the fold last year, and we all know how good Matty is. Like, well, he might have been the exception to the rule of seeing maybe a 19-year-old come in and really excel at county level, but like maybe that's what this Galway management are doing. They're just managing these lads and bring them along and saying, you know what, keep continually developing them. The last thing they want to see is these lads break down with injury. And in fairness, that'd be the last thing the under 20 management want to see as well. They don't want to see those lads break down either.
Another question that came in on Twitter were Galway's defensive issues yesterday, more of system or player based or a little bit of both. I think on the point I made there, like if you can bring when those midfielders come back, you can bring Sean Kelly, you can bring Keane Hernan back into the defence. It does strengthen things. Maybe yesterday against Mayo too was maybe they were trying something different with Liam Slick at wing forward, and we could see him back in defence as well against Armagh.
Yeah, like, and again, you put a Killy McDade and a John Maher back there on that Galway team. Like, how many times have we seen those lads come back and make a block on the 21 or the 14? They're back there turning lads over as well. Like, they're lads that love defending as well. For as much as they love being on the ball, they love turning teams over. Like, and I suppose the new rules now, Paul, like, they're not new rules anymore. They're the current rules now. They've been in for the last year. Like, so I suppose the lowest scoring team in Division One over the weekend was Monaghan with 18 points. Football has completely changed in terms of scoring and everything like that. You won't see inter-county teams, the top teams when they play against each other. You won't see your 8 points to 9 anymore. You won't see that 110 to 11 points. anymore. Rarely, I would say, to be honest. Like, so a lot of it will come down to like there will be some really good defending in it, but there is no sweeper. There is no, safety net anymore. There's one-on-ones everywhere, and intercounty forwards, intercounty midfielders, wing backs, they're so good at shooting. They're so good at getting 2-pointers and goals and everything like that. The scores are going to rack up. Like Galway Mayo finished 218 to 318, but again, Galway left maybe 3-4 goals behind them. Galway could have won that game by 6 points if things went right for them in terms of their finishing. Like, and we'd be saying, geez, that was a fantastic performance, great scoring by Galway, and nobody would have looked at the 318 Mayo scored. But we're looking at it because we lost, and we're questioning lads there, like, like if people are going to be going questioning Johnny McGrath, Sean Fitz, Jack Lynn, Dylan McHugh, or any of these lads that have been there for long, they're the same lads that have been Rolls Royce defenders and footballers for Galway the last few years. And people are probably in the stands and on the pitch clapping them in the back, saying they're great. They're probably the same people turning around saying that, oh, Galway defensively aren't great. So I don't really kind of buy that either, to be honest. I think it's just that there's so much more one-on-one defending that they can only do so much. I think they can only do so much, and they just need a bit of a break too. Like Galway are not operating at their full strength yet.
Yeah. So when you touched on there, John Maher, I think deservedly captain, really, isn't he?
Yeah, like, and I have to say, like, Sean Kelly for the last few years has conducted him so well as captain for Galway. Like in terms of he'd play anywhere for the Galway jersey, like Sean, like, and he showed that, like if Sean was out there and his hamstring was ready to go off, like he'd be still sprinting up and down the field, like bursting his, I won't say it kind of on the camera here now, but he would absolutely go up and down the field and do anything he could for the Galway jersey, like, and like it might take a little bit of pressure off Sean, like, because I say maybe he wanted to be on the field maybe too much, pushing himself too hard, like, but like, so this might give Sean a new lease of life, like, in terms of, like, yeah, the freedom of the captaincy. John has been there. His story has been really good in the Galway panel, out of the Galway panel, back in, you know, the last few years. He's been just exceptional. I have to say, like, John is exceptional. He's a really good guy too, really nice fella as well. Like, so he's going to relish the role. Like, and for Dylan as well, like, back there in the half back line, he's going to step up too. Like, these are lads that want to step up. Like, you're not going to lose Sean Kelly as leader. You're not going to lose Matthew Tierney as leader from being vice captain. I think Galway are littered with leaders all over the field. It's just that you have to name a captain and vice captain too.
It wouldn't be right if the goalkeeper position, if I didn't ask you, obviously, as a goalkeeper, Conor Gleeson was obviously in goals yesterday, and the reason I'm only asking it really is because last year we seen it throughout the championship that it was changed a lot between Flaherty and Gleeson. Is this something you maybe see continuing throughout the league where Flaherty's given a bit of game time, Gleeson's given a bit of game time, or do you think maybe it's Conor Gleeson is ahead at the minute?
Tough question, Paul. I have to say, tough question. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. I suppose, you know, Conor Flaherty's been there now a few years. He'll probably want to run at it, I would say. He has his own clubman as well involved with the county panel. So that's going to be putting a bit of pressure on him too. Like, Eamon's probably going to be wanted to push up the ranks as well. Conor Gleeson himself has been there a long time and has produced some big, big moments for Galway as well. Like, so it's a difficult one. Like, that probably comes down to management in terms of their plan, trying to get ready for the championship. If Conor Flaherty started next week, um, grand, yeah. If he doesn't start next week, you back Gleeson and you just go at it again and whatever. But like, it's preferences. Like, again, we seen it last year. The only thing I'd say, like, for Connor's sake, I'd say that he probably would have loved to have played a few more minutes in the league last year, and then going into championship, trying to get up to the pace of that. I know that people say it's kickouts and whatever, and it's only goalkeeping putting the ball out. Those split seconds when you're trying to ping a ball, you only maybe get half a second to make that decision. Like, and if you're not fully sharp, like, then moments are gone to pick out those kickouts, and then you're driving the ball along, and it's not working out maybe right for you. So it's It's a hard one. It is a hard one, I have to say, and like it'll be interesting to see the team selection next week. How many of the survivors of the game yesterday will start on Saturday up against Armagh?
I think it is, though, in fairness, when you look at how long the inter-county season is now. Maybe you came with your 7 games into provincial and then you go into the All-Ireland series. We see yesterday with the three lads, Maher and the two McDonald's, getting their chance and taking it. But even if you're looking at the bench there yesterday, Brian Cogger was obviously on the bench, had an impressive FBD campaign. Shane McGlinchey from Tuam Stars introduced, Matthews Barrett from Letchermore introduced, Shane McGrath introduced, Mikey Mulryan wasn't introduced, or Charlie Power, who were both on the bench as well. It's it's a nice position for Porrick to be in, to throw a couple more maybe new lads into the fray on Saturday evening and see where they're at after this Armagh game too, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Like if you look at that bench, like there's a lot of new faces in it. They're like they're familiar to Galway people, but definitely not around the country or anything like that. Like, and I'll probably touch back to the Liam Silk wing forward. Like I admire the decision to try and maybe freshen it up, maybe for Liam, to put him in a different position. Maybe it didn't go as well as the manager might have hoped, but they're not afraid to make decisions either. They're not going to play things safe. I suppose like Finian Olai back a wing back. I know he's my club man and everything like that, but I have to say that first half he was playing electric at wing back. I thought a lot of ball going through him. He gave Daniel Farty a really good opportunity for his score, took his own score really well, and just I think unfortunate with the knock he got at the time that probably affected him coming off in the second half. But I think he showed really well and is given food for thought maybe for the management, like that this could be a good position for him at county level as well.
It's tough now, isn't it? Obviously going to Armagh, 6 day turnaround. From your own experiences in the past, obviously, if you lose your opening round in Division One, or um, from your own experiences, it can nearly be a way to focus the mind. Can it? You know you've lost one. If you get one, you're sort of back on track in the division then.
Yeah, like if you go in your first game, I'm not saying it takes pressure off you. Like you're probably saying to yourself, we want to win the second game. And then you're probably looking at, okay, there's probably a chance here we can make maybe a league final. On the flip side of it, if you lose your first game and you lose your second game, and then
Mm.
you have to go to Kerry for your third game, where they're getting back the Dingle lads and a few of the Gaeltacht lads, if probably for that round, I would reckon it's you're probably looking at you need 4 or 5 points to stay up in Division One, and definitely I cannot see the Galway management being happy with being relegated from Division One this year, regardless of how many injuries or lads they have to come back. I think that Porrick would not be happy with that. So like you could see it on the line yesterday. He wanted to be Galway to be driving forward for that. Like, but from my own experience, like I suppose like a lot of my experience, like I would probably add maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years Division One. Where a lot of these lads have played far more Division One football than I have. Like, but Division Two, unless you're kind of off to a winning start, the league can be a bit of a struggle too. Like, and you know, you don't want things to snowball negatively either.
Yeah.
Like you don't want you like. I don't think it will happen. Like, but like if Galway don't want to go up to Armagh and get a trimming that Monaghan got yesterday or the day before, whatever day it was. Like, that's the last thing that they want playing against Armagh. Like, that's not good for anybody. Like they took a lot from yesterday's game. But the important thing is like, regardless of the result, if Galway get a win next Saturday, great. But they need to be able to take something out of next Saturday to bring into the Kerry game. Obviously, getting stronger, getting lads back from injury too. But like, they're well equipped to it. Like they're well used to it at this stage as well. Like Porrick has been up and down in the league. He's been there in the championship too. Like so, he's seen it all already with this current group of players. So like, look, all we can do is wait for next Saturday and see what Galway produce.
If they can get a win on the road, this Saturday coming up against Armagh, it'll be huge too, won't it?
Massive, massive. Especially when we only have 3 home games. Our next home games isn't till almost the end of February. Like so if we can do that, like if we can win either in Armagh or Kerry or great. You get 3 points or 4 points out of them results. Well, then you're back on track. Like you're back on track to finish the league strong because I can't see any team in the league running away with 6, 7 wins. Do you get me? It could be
Yeah.
4 or 5 wins could actually land you probably maybe in a league final possibly, depending on how other results go too. Like so, yeah, it would be massive. Like
Yeah, and if you even look at Armagh, obviously Rian O'Neill isn't involved this year, Niall Grimley isn't involved, Rory Gurgan didn't play at the weekend, so they're not at full strength either. So I think when they're minus those few players and when we're down a few players at the minute, there'd be nothing for Galway to fear at the weekend.
definitely not, and definitely from my own personal experience, I actually used to love going up to the northern teams playing them because there's always kind of almost a special atmosphere playing them up there. The pitches are in really good nick. They always have a good follow at the games. The atmosphere is a little bit hostile, but like it almost kind of brings out the best in you too. Like you love the hits because there's kind of like almost a championship feel to playing some of them teams up there as well. Like, and it's great. Like, and I think Galway go up there, they're going to have no fear of playing Armagh. Not a notion. Like, I can see them saying, "Oh, geez, we want to hang on," or they're going to go and throw the kitchen sink at them. And I expect it to be a spicy enough affair against Armagh. To be honest, like since there has been, I would say that's probably the growing rivalry over the last few years between any team in the north is between Armagh and Galway. I would reckon, to be honest. So I expect the hits. I expect lads to have maybe a jersey ripped off them. I expect yellow cards to be flying out too. Like so, that's what I'm hoping for. Like because that means there's a battle on, and Galway have to bring the fight. Then
Just a question there that came in from Michael Kelly on Twitter. Sean Kelly had his best season in 23 at full back. Does he need to go back there, do you think?
um, maybe to be honest, yeah, maybe you just have to go back there. Maybe we need to see him at wing back. He's one of the most attacking players on the field. He's one of the best defenders on the pitch. Like he plays the centre back for Mike Cullen. Rules games there as well. Like I think Sean is so good in 2, 3, 4 positions that like if you need a whole field, he can go there. Like again, we can put him back to full back. He'll play away there. He'll play Sean anywhere. He can play Sean wing forward, centre forward, and I'd say he'd still play a really good job for you. But like, does he need to go full back? I don't see alarm bells going off, going, "Oh Jesus Christ! Oh, there's a problem in the full back line. We need to sort that out." Like wait. I think wait. Be a little bit more patient. See where we are in terms of when we get more lads back to full strength, and then I think just slot him into the jigsaw and let that guy go because I would not want to be going after him or chasing after him because he is top class.
Just finally, before we finish, Manus, what's your views on the Hooter?
I'm mixed about it, Paul. To be
Yeah,
honest, I am mixed about it because yeah, you could be watching the clock. People at home could be watching TG Care. The fella watching the Hooter that has to blow it might be 2 seconds too late, 2 seconds too early. Um, I would say I think a lot of people were so annoyed at the Hooter last year because teams are so good at working a score. And I think it goes back to the Donegal Kerry game where Clifford worked that where Kerry worked the 2 pointer to Clifford in the All Ireland final, and they were like, "Oh Jesus, Kerry held on to the ball for ages." But I don't think anybody goes back to the fact like that was an absolute superb score in terms of how Clifford kicked it, the pressure that he was 1-on-1, but the diving block trying to block it, the quality of the kick. I don't think anybody really appreciated how good that score was. I think they were just more annoyed that systematically Kerry scored it. Like I think, like how I see that going is my big fear with that, and I've probably seen it from the ladies' side of thing is
yeah.
if you're a point down or a point up. I would say let's just say you put Galway in a scenario where they're a point down, 30 seconds to go. I just see systematic fouling going on, and I know like they touch about it, but like if you foul 2 or 3 lads quick enough, let them off, hit him again or whatever, I reckon that the clock will go. The clock will go. I think I don't know what the right way about it is, to be honest. I'm not a fan of the Hooter in general. I would say I think the my way around it would be to probably just do that the old way and leave it up to the referee and his discretion. I have to say,
Yeah,
like, I can't see anybody. Well, I haven't seen it down through the years ever too bad of anybody absolutely going mental at a referee because he played 30 seconds over the time, or maybe he blew it up 15 seconds early to allow a draw and allowed the game to go. Like, as say, you know what, all right, these two teams need to go extra time. They deserve that much at least. Like, I don't think I've really ever seen anybody complaining about that. I think there will be a lot of complaints if the
yeah.
GA leave this in the way it is at the moment. Whatever about last year, I think this will cause way more trouble. And it's much harder the referee. Stop stairs, stop stairs, stop stairs, having to keep an eye on the clock like that. They have enough to be doing on the pitch as well than fucking, sorry, it should be cursing, but like, than giving another watch on their hand to keep an eye on. Like,
Yeah, I think even Conor Lane yesterday putting his hands up for each play too, and yeah, I agree with you there. It's gonna cause a bit of controversy across the National League. So, Manus, thanks very much for your time.
no bother, Paul.
This episode is sponsored by DroneWorks Ireland, your go-to place when it comes to buying a drone, repairing a drone, and also when you need professionals to carry out any aerial work you may need. Check out their website at www.droneworksireland.ie. Now, in part two of the show, I'm delighted to be joined by former Armagh footballer John McEntee to look ahead to Galway and Armagh this Saturday at 5 p.m. in the Athletic Grounds. Uh, John, the weekend gone by for Armagh, obviously a nice way to start their Division 1 campaign with a comprehensive victory over Monaghan.
Yeah, it was. It was, I suppose it was important. And Armagh do target the league early on because, they start back training early. They get a lot of sort of pre-season work done. They're very, very fit. They're in really good shape. Um, I mean, you can't expect a lot of teams to be similar. A lot of teams county level they're in serious shape. So having that sort of edge where you have, good solid defensive structure there, they seem to have, I suppose the best way to describe it is that they don't have their first team midfield pairing, but they're still very formidable. And I think you might find they might play a lot of the year. So that McKenna Cup campaign and these early league campaigns are going to be really important to Armagh and so try and consolidate that midfield berth. And then to have, I think they got 10 scores, Paul, over the weekend. 10 or
Yeah.
11 fellas scored, and nobody was really sort of prolific, which is good in one respect because, you spread of scores makes it hard to defend against. But, I suppose as we go through the league campaign, they'll be looking for more prolific people, for people to stand up and have higher scores. But, it was a good start. The other thing about it, I would say, is you kind of have to qualify it by the fact that it's Monaghan's first time up into the first division from the went down, and they were missing a significant number of key personnel that sort of kept them up over the years. So they're very much building a new team, and this was a tough start for Monaghan, real tough start.
Was the biggest positive yesterday, John, from an Armagh perspective? Obviously, registering 127 is something supporters, management, and the team would have to be delighted with.
Yeah, absolutely. 127 and an awful lot of that was from play was really, really positive. They squeezed Monaghan in the first half with the kickouts. Monaghan two big guys right in the middle of the field, and Andrew Woods was coming in to help, and they couldn't get a kick out. Armagh really dominated that, but they converted those kickouts very quickly into scores. And credit goes a lot, I would say, to guys like Joe McElroy. Joe McElroy's only back playing for Armagh this year, having been out injured, and he's got a phenomenal engine in him, and he worked really, really hard, and he picks up break ball, really, really brave under the break ball. And I thought he was outstanding on his first major day back, since he was injured. So and I think that did contribute to the Armagh victory. But 127 is definitely a big score. We're very pleased with that. It's not every day Armagh scores 127. I'd need to look back and see how many wines there were, what the conversions were like. But we got a sense leaving that, the team are have a fairly good solid start. And I think, as fellas come back throughout the year, there'll be certainly stiff competition for places.
Does it sort of take the pressure off, do you feel, Armagh now getting a win like this early on in the division?
Well, if you look back over the last few years with Armagh, they've always wanted to start strong, and build up a bit of a lead and then see how things go. Um, might be a bit unfair to say, but in recent years they've started really, really well, and as teams got fitter and got their men back, Armagh struggled a bit more, and then maybe were caught a few matches later on in the league campaign, which meant that they didn't put themselves in the position for silverware. So it's not a surprise to us looking at Armagh that they wanted to go out and win this early on. Absolutely no surprise, and no surprise that they wanted to make an impact. Like Armagh have a big squad. A lot of fellas had an opportunity to play in the McKenna Cup, and give themselves a chance to get onto that sort of first team squad. And these first couple of league games are going to give fellas a chance to test out and see what they're like. As I say, Monaghan wasn't the stiffest opposition, so they came through that with flying colours. Galway's going to be a bit different, and I expect probably a similar sort of team is going to play against Galway, and we'll see what their true characters like when they come up against better opposition.
How has it been over the last few weeks? Obviously, the absentees are obviously big losses with Niall Grimley and Ryan O'Neill not part of the panel this year.
Yeah, so Ryan opted not to come back, which is fine. So I expect he will feature, in football in future years. Niall Grimley has retired from football.
Okay.
Um, now Niall has had one of those careers where he was, in many ways there was great hope with Niall when he came first, and he did relatively well. I think he was studying over in England, so he missed a period of football, and then he had a bad injury with the neck. He had a bad neck injury, and then he came back, and he was the year we won the All-Ireland, he was outstanding. Played really well against Galway, really well in the semi-final. And last year, I think he maybe picked up a few knocks and things and didn't maybe get going as well as he wanted to. So probably found it a bit frustrating. I'm saying that not knowing the situation, that's just looking from the outside in. So I was kind of thinking this year would have been a big year for Niall. I think there's still plenty for him to give. And I suppose supporters would be disappointed that he's not there, and accepting the fact that, listen, he's been a good servant. I'm sure he's 10 years or more there, and he's given great service to Armagh, but he's a loss because he's a phenomenal athlete, big and strong, runs hard down the middle, and can kick scores for fun. And they don't come too often. He's like one in a generation type guy for us. So even had he been there to come off the bench and to create that sort of impact sub, would have been really important for us. Last year, you seen whenever we lost Soupy Campbell through injury and Oisin O'Neill through injury, we didn't have the positive impact off the bench that we needed. And if Niall was there, or if he's still, he still has time to change his mind. He looks after himself pretty well. He doesn't carry any weight. You could see him coming back and making a difference.
Yeah, obviously I forgot there. Stephen Campbell, obviously a big blow as well, and Jermaine
Yes,
Hall as
definitely.
well.
Yeah, Jamal Hall, has been a great servant over the years. I suppose he hasn't had as much game time in recent years. Sippy has been phenomenal. And I suppose he is coming to the end of his term, and he's had a couple of years there on the bench, and been a very positive impact off the bench. He's been, it's probably, they say like, goalkeeper's the most important position. In actual fact, over the last couple of years, it's the subs that's become the most
Yeah.
important. You can come off the bench and you can kick 2 or 3 scores, you change a game. But if you're coming off the bench and making no impact at all, well then, it's a very different picture. So, but he has been phenomenal coming off the bench. But trying to convince any young man that the most important role you can play as a sub is very, very difficult. And I think he's been an outstanding servant for Armagh, and we will miss him. We'll miss him as much for the football as the lift he gives us all. Because he's a great character. He comes on, and there's a bit of life and enthusiasm about with Soupy. So he's definitely a supporter's favourite, and he'll be missed. There's a few other lads that left as well, who were on the verge of breaking in, and maybe possibly felt they had a chance last year, the year beforehand, didn't get it, and then have decided this year to walk away, which is disappointing, I suppose, from a supporters' perspective. But like county football nowadays, Paul, is really, really time intensive, and you have to give up your life for this. And if you don't, get an opportunity in the first 2, 3, 4 years, it's very hard to stick at it. So I don't blame any of them guys for taking a step away.
with that as well, with the players that stepped away, it's obviously we've seen players who probably got game time last year, but then maybe as the championship went on, they were probably held in reserve, and they've obviously got their chance, and a couple of new players as well got their chance at the weekend, and it's affording players an opportunity now for Armagh.
Yeah, it is. Like, listen, we have you guys like Ocean Kennedy who turns up every week and is just an immense footballer, and Andrew Morning, what a servant he has been. So all the fellas are going to get a chance to work alongside them. So you have young Callum O'Neill, not so young anymore, he's in his mid-20s, in the middle of the field. He's been in and out there for a year or two. I'm delighted to see he's getting loads of football. He's a really good footballer. He captain the Sigerson team. Um, and I think there's loads of potential with him. So it's great to see him there. And our very own Oisin O'Neill, Rian's brother, who's an outstanding footballer. And maybe through injury hasn't had a real opportunity over the last couple of years. So we expect a lot of good things off Oisin this year. But you've Torbert, Conor Torbert, who, on days he's absolutely amazing, unmarkable. There's other days maybe he drifts out of games, and I suppose what we're hoping this year is that we get a lot more consistency out of Conor, because he's definitely formidable, forward.
I presume you're excited about Keegan Conville as well, are you?
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to talk him up too much because he's one of our own and he's only a young fella and we want to give him a good chance. His father was an immense footballer, Jim McEntee. He's one of our local heroes. And Keane's every bit as good, The game of football has changed in recent years, and I think he's more of a chance now to impress and show his ability. Definitely very, very strong, loads of pace, and he's got a good left foot. So I think all he needs is game time. I think all he needs is opportunities, and you will find that he'll get on the end of scores. Keane, he played the weekend. I think he got a couple of points. Probably kicked two or three wides from frees and things, and I've kind of put that down probably to nerves as much as anything else, because he's definitely, he's got a really good eye for a score, and the lovely thing about him is he's got an eye for goal, and one of the things that Armagh struggle with is actually being, ruthless in front of goals, and I think Keane adds that wee bit edge that other guys maybe don't have, is that when he gets inside, he'll definitely put in the back of the net.
Where do you feel Armagh are, John? Because even if you take it back to last year, you probably still have regrets over that Kerry game, because it felt like in the first half you're in control, and then obviously Kerry came out in the second half and took control, and then obviously with that few absentees. But do you still feel Armagh are right here as All Ireland contenders this year?
Yeah, it is really hard to tell. You still have Kerry up there. I watched Dublin at the weekend. Even though they didn't win, I thought they were impressive. I think they're going to be hard to beat. Mayo were really impressive in Galway. But then Mayo do be decent this time of year, and they struggle to keep that up, I think, come championship. Tyrone will always be hard to beat. Dick Donegal are really good. So that's kind of where Armagh's sitting. They're sitting at that top tier with them sort of 5 or 6. They're always going to be very hard to beat. They have I do think genuinely that they have good defenders. They struggle against Kerry, but Kerry have exceptional forwards. And it's that thing, they're good enough to beat everybody. Yeah, they're good enough to beat Kerry. And that's the question they'll have to ask themselves as the year goes on. I think that we went into that game last year, there's probably an element of false confidence. You had the bounce of winning All Ireland the previous year. You had the hope of maybe going in and doing back to back, which Armagh have never done. We only one other one in 22, and we were beaten in the final in 23. So you kind of had this real optimism, going into the Kerry game, and they played really well early on. But what Kerry did was they dismantled our midfield, and our midfield were pretty decent up to that point. And they completely destroyed us around the middle of the field, completely destroyed the kickouts, and we were bereft of ideas. And for 15 minutes, wasn't it? There's some crazy stat like they won 15 minutes, they won 15, 16 kickouts.
Yeah.
And that just left us wondering, where are we and what have we to do? But I think they have a lot of talent. They have a lot of very capable lads. I think this year there's a few fellas that will come back from injury and add to things. I think it gives us an opportunity for those older fellas, maybe not to be the mainstay of the team anymore. You know, the likes of Grugan and Forker and basically that. I don't think that supporters should expect them to be the main players anymore. I think they're uh, fellas who are working in the background trying to develop other lads and bringing them through and making a contribution on the pitch, but not a smaller contribution than what they have in the past. But the likes of Tiernan and Kelly is an exceptional footballer. Haven't seen a lot of him. He had a bad injury one time. He had an unfortunate suspension for a while. Um, uh, and basically that are going to get a chance this year. And I think you'll see a revitalised Armagh. You know, it's whether our forward play is going to be enough to get the scores you need on the big days. You know, I think defensively we're always going to be tight, we're always going to be hard to beat. But this is a shootout now. And we are scoring well. You seen we scored well at the weekend. We didn't score an awful lot of two-pointers. And two-pointers are game changers. And I think we need to think about who's going to be scoring those long-range scores and how we're going to set them up, because I think that'll be the difference.
Even looking at the weekend, John, it's hard to not get excited about Galway and Armagh when if you
Uh,
take it back to the All Ireland quarter final in Croke Park, the games in Kerrigan, Shannon, Sligo, Cavan last year, the All Ireland final. Like these two sides have really brought the best out in each other, and I think Galway went up to the Athletic Grounds a few years ago and won in the league, and it went right down to the wire. So never, it's always tight when it comes to these two teams.
it is, you know what, we've great respect for Galway, and it's a county we love to go to visit. So whenever we're away to Galway, you bring a whole big Armagh contingent, and then whenever we invite you here, you know, there's that sort of buzz about the place. And as you say, other than the final, I don't know that we've beaten. I can't remember when we last beat Armagh, or Armagh last beat Galway. Um, so this is the second game. Remember, Armagh won well the first day. Galway were poor for maybe 55 minutes of the game and could have won the thing. Um, um, you know, I think it was that was it the third goal from Mayo probably killed the game off. But up to that point, they were coming back in the game and they could have stole it. So I
Yeah.
think Galway will take heart from that. Yeah, when they're looking at this game, I think they're going to target Armagh. Calling Armagh is not going to be easy. I have to say I expect Armagh to put in a strong performance. And I think there'll be questions asked of these guys, and it'll be an indicator to see whether they're the fellas that are playing, whether they're fit for championship football or not. But I fully expect like a rebound performance from Galway, and a much better performance than the last day.
Yeah, I think it's one goal you're going to really target because it's actually the way the fixtures have fell. It's two away games in a row, and after Armagh, we're heading to Tralee the following Saturday. So it's two tough weeks on the trot now for Galway. In fairness,
Yeah, if you lose your first three matches, you're in trouble. You
yeah,
know,
exactly. You're looking
yeah,
down the table.
yeah, you're looking there on the table, and you know you see what Mayo was like or what Meath were like at the weekend there again. There, you know, there's nothing easy in the first division, and I know that there's always the chance that you could sort of scrape that sort of third and bottom spot, but it's a sweat. It's a sweat. So a performance this week could really bring a different perspective to the Galway year. So it's important for both. It's important for both. I do think that this is really important for Armagh because this is the first proper test that they'll have. There'll be an indication of whether these lads are, up to scratch. You mentioned Keane. It'll be interesting to see whether Keane performs well, and he can link well up with his teammates under immense pressure because Galway's defence have always been pretty decent. And we struggle to get through them.
What have you made of Galway? I suppose nearly if you take it back to the All Ireland final. Obviously, last year disappointing for Galway to lose to Meath, but even from watching yesterday, where do you feel Galway are?
So Galway missing a few players.
Yeah, they're down a
Um,
few players at the
they're
minute
down a
already.
few players, and Galway have struggled to, uh, my opinion, maybe it's a bit, it's informed. It's not well informed from Galway's perspective, but I think you need 20, 22 players now of a squad, and I think Galway have struggled with that. I even felt the Iron final whenever you did your couple of key players who were absolute stars. Um, were come into that game carrying injuries. There was nobody else really to sort of come and pick up the pieces. And I know Matthew Tierney and that guys that have to come back in. But you're reliant, I think, on the sort of, 15, maybe 16 players. And the other fellas haven't really stepped up to the level that's needed to compete again in the top table. So if you play really, really well, that's fine. You get through those games. And Kerry, to a certain degree, have been like this, that they've relied on the first 15 to win matches, and they just blitz other teams. And that's great. You're not getting 4 or 5 points off the bench. But not everybody's like Kerry. And Galway was quite formidable. They're very hard to break down. They're very good at getting scores, but they don't go 5, 6 points up and hold a game. There's always a battle. So when you subs coming off the bench, you need them kicking 2, 3, 4 points and making the difference. And I'm not seeing that as much as you would need to see it. So I think they're, not to be unfair to anybody, I think they're struggling with their kickouts.
Yeah,
Struggled to kick it big time.
you could see it yesterday. I was counting in the first half. They're down a few midfielders. In fairness, with Tierney, McDade, Darcy, Maher, all missing at the minute. But there was one stage where I was counting, and they only retained two. Like Mayo really went after the kick out.
Did, but a lot of those kicks, they all go long. And you've
Yeah,
mentioned all big men there. McDade's maybe not as big as the rest, but they're big men and they'll be formidable when you're going to catch spot. But you still also need an option of, the short kick out or the drill pass into and by in the wing half back position. And I don't think that variation in the kick out. And I think that's an area that they definitely need to work on. And, you know, Sean Kelly there's no doubt he's one of the best footballers around. Uh, but I'm not sure he's the best man to have in the middle of the field. I think that he needs to be given a slightly different role to get him on the ball and make things happen a bit more. Because trying to compete with big men and trying to win break ball at the same time doesn't always work. I think too that uh, they need a full forward that's going to win ball. The big man's out, and
yeah. I, I
that's why
thought I
they
thought
haven't got a
now.
replacement.
Yeah, I thought now at the weekend, Phil McDonough, he was a new lad. In it
He's having
weekend.
Russian brothers, no?
No, they're no relation at all. They're both from West Galway, but Fionn finished with 1-4. That would have been his first start, and it was Oisin's first start as well. And there was Kieran Mulhern as well at 11. He's still under 20, but he was very good as well. He finished with 3 points, so they are promising signs early on for Galway too.
Yes, they are, and they came into the game more so, I thought, as the game wore on. But when you're coming into the championship, Paul, you need them by starting well. The younger fellas will get some grace in the league campaign, but if you're not scoring early and making an impact early on, you're going to be whipped. And I think those guys, that game will definitely bring them on. I was particularly impressed with Fionn. That game, there's no doubt, will bring them on, but I think they need to have a very early impact. Otherwise, I'm not sure they'll all feature. Galway may revert to what they know best when it comes in the championship campaign, which I think would be unwise. And I think they do need to freshen things up. They need to bring new players in and try different things. But it's just you'll see what they're like. Armagh's really tight defensively, so we'll get a good indication of what those guys are like, what the quality, what their ability is.
Brett, it's a good point you made there. In relation to Sean Kelly, because we often have this debate where's his best position, and even was getting a couple of questions into the podcast this week, and one listener was suggesting maybe do you revert to putting Sean Kelly back at three because that season in 23 in
Yeah.
particular he played some of his best football at fullback, and even if you do play him at fullback, the way the new rules are, someone can nearly stay back as the halfback, and maybe you let him go forward too.
Yeah. Well, you can see, what teams are doing now is you're trying to get scorers from 5 the whole way up. I probably in the new rules, you'd have Sean Kelly somewhere on the half back line and let him attack all day long. And I think he would get scores. Gives him a bit more freedom. And if things go wrong, you'll have cover in place. And if you're not getting it quick enough for kickouts, you'll have somebody to cover him. Full back line, holding him, restricting him into the full back line. I don't know. would be the right thing either. So somewhere on the half back line, I would argue, would be the best place for Sean Kelly.
What's the best way for Galway to go after Armagh this weekend?
Um, mm, uh, all right. Well, I would say so. Our forward line were very good last week. Okay, I think, and if for Galway to beat Armagh, I think they need to be defensively tight. I think they need to get sort of under the skin of some of our forwards, and test them, see what they're like. I think if you're scoring 27 points against Monaghan, can you score 22 points against Galway and win a match? I don't know. Conor Torbert has been brilliant, as I said, and some days he can be brilliant. So some days he's in man of the match performances. The next day he's been substituted in the second half. I'd like to see Conor really expressing himself, and playing really well against a top team. So I would like to see him under a bit of pressure and see how he performs. Same with Keane and Oisin O'Neill and guys to get here. We need to see them performing well under pressure. So, but the flip of that is that if Galway mark them really tight and don't give them the space to score, how will they perform mentally? And that's the question. So that I would be asking of them: can they be as confident and proficient in front of goals if they're up against a good defence? So stay defensively solid, and then be really patient probably on the attack. They will have to fix their midfield because Armagh's midfield at the minute is pretty good. Big fellas will work hard for a ball, and there's really good guys coming in around for break balls. So Galway's going to have to battle much better than the battle last week. Galway lost a lot of break ball last week, and if that happens to get Armagh, they'll be severely punished.
We're probably likely to see that battle between Johnny McGrath and Conor Turbot. We've seen it a good bit over the last while. It's been a good battle too between the two of them.
But Johnny McGrath, he's definitely an exceptional footballer, and I expect he'd probably pick up Conor Turbot. Yeah.
How tough is it then for Galway to come to the Athletic Grounds? Because we all know Armagh always have a big support behind them, but for first home game of the year, Armagh in the Athletic Grounds, how tough is it going to be for Galway in that atmosphere?
I can tell you it'll be full.
Yeah.
It's a great venue. The crowd's really close to the pitch, so it is. There's going to be, that atmosphere is going to be on the edge of championship atmosphere. The pitch is in really good order. I know it gets an awful lot of football. The grounds is sort of where it's located. It gets a lot of matches, but the pitch is still in really good order. And it'll be a cauldron. Although they went to Mayo last week. Yeah, they did go to Mayo, didn't they? They went to McHale Park last week. And that in itself is a similar sort of thing. But give a journey up the road, I imagine Galway would probably.
Well, Galway were at home against Mayo in Pearse Stadium.
Oh, they were home, were they?
Yeah.
So I imagine they'll probably come up the night before. It's a fair spin up the road from Galway. So you're starting to prepare for championship football. This will be a good test to see where they're at. But you won't get anything easy in Armagh. Armagh is going to make this home impenetrable. We want to make sure that nobody comes out of Armagh with points. You know what I mean? So this is going to be a dog-eat-dog battle the whole way to the finish line.
How do you see it going?
Based on last week's performance, I would say Armagh's in a better place. However, I just see a kick from Galway. I think there's bound to be one or two fellas or those big guys, going to make their way back, and if they do, they might be a bit more competitive around the middle of the field. I think that if Galway allow Armagh to get that level of a lead up early on, the game will be over. They won't get back into it. But I think it's going to be a lot more tight, a lot tighter than what last week's, but what the Monaghan game was like. And I'm sort of excited for these young fellas to see what they're like. But at the same time, that makes me a wee bit nervous in terms of how the performance is going to be. So I'm going to hedge my bets and say that Armagh might just scrape through this. Might just scrape through it. I think now's a good time with any to sort of, beat Galway. And I think because of the level of training the guys probably have done, and the confidence in the squad and the need to find some new guys here, this is a really, really important match. I know we said earlier it's an important match for Galway. I would hesitate to say that. I would argue that it's probably a more important match for Armagh see where they are for the course of the year.
From your own experience then, John, of playing Galway throughout your playing career with Armagh, is is 2001 obviously Galway go on to win the All-Ireland, they
Yeah.
pip you in the qualifiers 13-12. Is that the game you think of initially when you think of coming up against Galway?
See, we played Galway at Joyce at full forward and Michael Donlan at centre
Right.
three quarters. Um, and he's a Jeff Allen.
Jeff Allen, yeah, yeah.
Uh, like there's very few people can match that quality, you know. Um, Michael Donlan was an absolute machine in terms of his pace. Um, we were really really close. So we were. So when I think back to the Galway team, I sort of look at it at that era. I kind of look at it with rose tinted glasses because you said they won a couple of All Irelands, and I only remember those games out of fondness. To be honest with you, Paul, I just
Mm.
I loved watching Galway at the time. Galway were an incredible outfit at the time, um, and it was we were young and up and coming, and we were sort of testing away, see where we were. Um, the truth is, we were probably what was it in the end of that? Maybe a couple of pints, was it?
It was 13-12 in the All-Ireland
14-12.
qualifier. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
we had a chance near the end. Um, and if we had taken the one or two chances, there might have been something off it. I don't know, but I think they were just at that stage they were just a better side than we were.
Is there an opponent when you play Galway that you found tough throughout your playing career?
Well, the Valley was centre back. You don't in terms of TikTok, you don't get a much tougher than the Valley cut you in two. But uh, no, I think as I say, if there's one player I just admired most, it was probably uh, um, Michael. Watching Jeff Allen in that All Ireland final performance was just something surreal. But
Yeah,
Michael Donlan was, in terms of playing against, because the pace he had was frightening, and he played it as if he was playing out in the playground yard. You know what I mean? There was nothing. Everything was organic. There was nothing scripted with him. He just did what he thought about at the time, and I suppose his natural ability to kick a ball and to run a pace set him aside from everybody else. When you're just better than most? That's kind of the way he was.
yeah. I think the famous run in
Yeah.
'98 where he gets the ball, and I can't imagine trying to catch him on the pitch because I don't think there was any catching him.
No, no. Once he got up and running, it was incredible. Uh, but like there were little bit players that sort of that era of God were pretty special. And as I say, they just played off the cuff. They were just natural footballers and very difficult to play against. Um, and you always come away frustrated when you played them because you were trying to match yourself against players who were maybe that wee bit better than we were at a point in time. And there was times we were close. We could have scraped by, but uh, no, good luck to them. They were good.
Great stuff, John. Thanks very much for your time this evening.
All right, take care, Pop.